Hello and welcome back to Maui Apothecary Magic's YouTube channel. Today I'll be talking about boundaries, what they are, how to set them, and I'm also going to share a few stories. I always find that sharing stories helps solidify and really start to ingrain some of maybe these higher concepts that you haven't put into practice or have put into practice, but sometimes giving examples and personal stories can help to really anchor in that message. So, without further ado, first question. What is a boundary? A boundary is basically saying and putting out there into the world, this is what I'll accept, this is what I can do, this is what I can give. And they set a space or a container for basically how you show up into the world, what your yes is and what your no is. Boundaries also need to be continually reinforced because just like anything else, we change and we grow. And as we change and grow, our boundaries and our needs also change and grow. So something that might have been a yes one day is a heck no the next day. And that's the practice of reinforcing boundaries and also redefining boundaries. So boundaries can come in all shapes, all sizes. They can come as physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, spiritual boundaries, energetic boundaries. That's a big one that I feel like a lot of people aren't very aware of. So I want to touch on kind of all the shapes and sizes that boundaries can come in. And of course, this is not an exhaustive list. So as always, my message is the same. Take what resonates, apply it to your life, and leave whatever does not resonate. Take what resonates and leave the rest. So for a physical boundary, that one's kind of, in my opinion, the easiest one to describe because it's what you're saying yes to physically. If you're allowing someone into your space, a friend might invite themselves over, but you're just not really in the mood to host someone. Maybe your house isn't as clean as you would like it to be, or maybe it's a Sunday and you just want to take the time for yourself. The why doesn't matter, but as long as you're following that gut instinct of, I want to protect this physical space, then that's a physical boundary. So I'll give you an example of one that happens to me a lot. I will get approached, not a lot, but I'll get approached by a guy and they'll, want to, maybe go on a date or something like that. They'll start to encroach my physical space. Unfortunately, I haven't had any good experiences of this happening as of late. There have been times where it was even very, I was at a coffee shop just a few months ago and this guy literally saw me, came over and was like, are you married? Your eyes are so pretty. Your hair is so pretty. Can I pounce on you? So he automatically came into my physical space and was basically insinuating he wanted a physical sexual relationship with me. And I was like, oh, dude, back up. No, back up. He got his coffee. I went and I sat down. And then he came over again and was like, can I have your phone number? And was like, I'm trying to hit on you. And I was like, you honestly are encroaching. And this is when, my first boundary was not respected. So then I really had to speak up and I say, you are not respecting my physical boundary. I do not want to speak to you. I do not interested in you in any shape or form. Please leave me alone. Please respect my boundaries and back up. So he was right in my face. And of course it got turned on me. Why do you have to be so rude? And I was like, well, why do you have to continually break my boundaries? So that's just one example, of an unwanted, intrusive action into your physical space and into your physical boundaries. Also, I want to note with this, as a woman, as boundaries tend to be harder for women. It just is what it is. There's this expectation that women need to be, the caregivers and the providers and also, out in the world and nurturers and everything to everyone. And that's just not the case. If you aren't taking care of yourself, if your cup isn't overflowing, how are you supposed to give? How are you supposed to give from a cup that is depleted? We can't. And so I just want to honor and acknowledge that, because boundaries can also be very hard for women to set, especially like, for example, in the work world. Like if you have a male boss and he has a different kind of level of output, he has a different kind of level of responsibility in the world, and you are being held to this expectation that you just can't ever meet. Also, something else came into my awareness. Someone pointed this out to me, that I guess there's a YouTube video out there. I haven't seen the video, but there's a video out there that basically shows like when a man approaches a woman and is like, starts talking to her and she starts talking back, and then he asks like, are you in a relationship? And she either says, yes, I'm in a relationship. Then he gets mad and is like, well, why didn't you tell me that? I just wasted all this time. And then the vice versa. If they start talking, she, you know, she's not in a relationship. She says she's not in a relationship, but she's not interested in him. Then he also gets offended. So like there are times where it's a zero-sum win for a woman, you know, speaking up and holding your boundaries. So I just want to acknowledge that, because it is a difficult practice, but the more you do it and the more you honor yourself and your space and what you can give, I'm just talking about physically right now, but in general, then you begin to show up differently in the world. You begin to show up more authentically in the world. And you also get to show up and give in the ways that you want to, in the ways that feel safe and comfortable for you. And trust me, I'm not trying to like bash men, because there are amazing men out there who absolutely do respect boundaries the first time they're set, and that's great. And so I just want to, you know, this is not trying to be like a man-hating episode at all, but I'm just talking about my own personal experience, and my own personal experience as a single woman showing up in the world. And I'm not even looking for a partner, but you know, when you get approached in such kind of harsh ways, it just kind of reinforces like, man, I really got to stand up for myself. Like, because old versions of myself would have just given him my phone number just to get him to get away from me. But that, and then is giving him access to me, and then I'd have to block him or something like that. And I don't want to continue to show up like that in the world. I want to show up authentically in the world for me. And it was a no, and I'm not going to give you any further access to me by giving you my phone number. That's actually like a very personal thing. People can find out a lot of things by just having your phone number. And so and for me, that was also a wow, that's a really big growing moment for me, because you know, also like being asked out before you're even asked what your name is, like it's just like baffling to me. If you can't even have a conversation with me normally, like if we are not clicking right now, having conversation with you and I, why would I give you access to me in the future? So I just want to put that out there to kind of maybe possibly like, you know, shed a light on, you know, what it's like to be a single woman. And maybe you've experienced similar things when you are approached and it absolutely, you know, crosses your physical boundaries, and maybe you just, you know, acquiesce to get that person out of your physical space. But I'm actually trying to invite you to consider another option, which would be to really hold strong to your boundary, and then to also express you are crossing a physical boundary. I am not comfortable with you being in my space. Please back the F off. And not to mention, he had just come from the gym, so he was like super sweaty, and so I was just like, still just like, ew, like go take a shower, ew. And then an emotional boundary. I'd love to talk about this too, because to shine a light of awareness on this. So an emotional boundary that was kind of crossed the other day, and I'll give you an example. So I was moving into this new space, and there was someone standing kind of like on the awning. Like, so as I was walking up the stairs, there's someone standing there, and I asked, are you moving here? And he just automatically just is like, I'm not sure, like, it's very expansive here, then da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, dude, you're emotionally dumping on me right now. I'm just asking you if you're living here because I have movers coming up the stairs and you need to move. See, so like that happens a lot. You know, you ask someone, oh, how's your day? And they just emotionally dump on you. You know, oh, I'm having the worst day ever. Like, this went wrong, my car wouldn't start, my cat threw up, you know, all this stuff. And you're like, you're not actually really prepared to take on that emotional dumpage and that emotional verbiage. You were just kind of being polite. So something that I would suggest, so you can start practicing this moving forward, of say you are not having a great day and someone does ask you, what's going on. You can say, are you in the space, or do you have enough space to hold for me, because I'm kind of having an emotional day? If you're not in the space, I totally respect that. I have one of my best friends, we've never met in person, but we've had this beautiful relationship online through Instagram for I think 3 or 4 years at this point, and she is so great about doing that. She'll be like, hey, are you in the space to just kind of receive? I just need to kind of emotionally dump. And it's so beautiful, because there will be times when I'm gonna be like, no, but check in with me tomorrow. And then by that time, she's already kind of resolved it. It's already kind of resolved itself. Or I'll be like, yes, what do you need? Let's go. I have the time, I have the space, I'm holding space for you. Let's go. Because I think that's really beautiful too. When you just preemptively tell someone hey, do you have the time or space to kind of hold this for me? Because people they just emotionally dump on you when you're just, trying to have a acquaintance kind of interaction, just a friendly interaction. And then people will just I'm sure you can think of times when this has happened in your life. This is a very, very common practice. But what I'm trying to kind of get us to think about is there are ways that you can, you can do this without crossing people's emotional boundaries. And then you can also hold space for people who are having that, when your cup is overflowing, when you have the time, when you have the space, when you're in the right headset, when your emotions are okay. And that's this thing too about reinforcing your boundaries, because one day it might be a no, and then the next day it might be a yes. But I know for that one person, I am now holding really strong emotionally boundaries by not really opening too much dialogue between him and I, because I know that's just the kind of person he is. He'll just emotionally dump on anyone given 1 inch. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, and I wanted to share that. Another form of boundaries are energetic boundaries. So this is a beautiful thing to incorporate if you are having a meditation practice. So in my meditation practice, actually on my Instagram, I do have a meditation called Running Energy. And at the very end of the meditation, what we do is we clear out our aura, we set our aura at a certain space, and then at the very edge of our auras, we put definition, defining / protection roses. And what this does, and we ground that into our grounding cord, and what this does is on an energetic level, it sends to another person trying to intrude into your aura, into your space, to say, hey, no. It says, this is my aura, this is my energetic boundary, you're not welcome here. And it's not anything that you need to do other than establishing that in your meditation practice. So I know that there are probably tons of YouTube videos out there also talking about how to protect yourself energetically. So I absolutely invite you to develop a practice about doing that, because when you do that, I'm not saying that it bypasses having to continue to set and reinforce boundaries, but it does help. It really helps, because on an energetic level, they are feeling oh, this person, even they might not even be aware of it consciously, but their aura is conscious of it, of nope, I can't cross this space. And I've even seen people will be walking this way and they'll just kind of walk around my aura, because I do have a very big, expansive aura. And when I show up into the world, I'm making sure that I'm defining that aura and my edges, my energetic edges, because we end up carrying a lot of other people's stuff throughout the day. So that's why a meditation practice is so beautiful. Ground, get rid of everyone else's energy, call in your golden sun, envision a golden sun, call back all of the energy that you've left throughout your days. You don't even have to be conscious of where it is. Every email you send, every text you send, every phone call, everything, you are leaving an energetic imprint on that. So it can be very draining if you are not calling back your energy. And just in human design, I happen to be a projector. So we actually have very expansive auras and we penetrate into other people's auras. It's how we read people. But by me setting my energetic boundaries, I'm kind of giving myself the cue of like, I don't need to do that. It's okay. Like, I know that I'll just be able to read whatever happens, and I'd rather just confine my aura to myself for now. I don't need to run off their energy because I am calling back my energy so I'm not depleted. So then I just wanted to share something that happened when I moved to Maui. So when I was moving to Maui, I was reading this book, you guys have probably all heard of her, by Shonda Rhimes, and it was, I think the book is called Her Year of Yes. So she challenged herself for a year to basically say yes to almost any and all invitations that came her way. There was a lot of beautiful things that happened, but there was also kind of a downside. She didn't get enough time really with her kids. Her kids really missed her. She wasn't, playing with them as much. But there was something about that really sparked me when I was moving here, because I was like, I'm moving to a new place. I want to make connections. I want to really get involved in, the community that, I moved here for. So let me just say yes to everything. And I will say that completely depleted me. I was saying yes to things where my gut was saying no, but I was like, but I want to say yes because, I want to challenge myself to say yes. And that happened so many times that I truly lost touch with myself for a while, and it propelled me into the opposite. It propelled me because I was basically all yes. It propelled me into basically a year of all no's. And not only just a year, it was probably 2 years of basically all no's. And now I feel so much better because I have defined my boundaries. I know intuitively and just in my heart. And, and there are times where I'm I think things through as well, of when to say yes and when to say no. We can't always say yes all the time. And it doesn't always benefit us to say no all the time as well, because we might be missing out on learning opportunities. So it's so funny because I had that book that was, the year of yes. And then kind of my recovery from that is this beautiful book. And this beautiful book is called The Power of a Positive No by William Ury. And I love this book. This book really opened my eyes at that time when I didn't have any boundaries at all to, oh wow, I really need to establish them. And there's a way to do it positively, because I think what we guilt ourselves when we have to say no. We feel shameful. We feel like a failure. We feel there's so many things, but especially guilt and shame, and then also fear. Like if you're saying no to money making opportunities, then that can be really shameful too, because you're like, well, I really kind of would like the money, but I actually don't have the time or energy or space for it, but I feel like I should just say yes because there's money attached to it. And I don't remember where this came from, but kind of early on in my spiritual awakening, about 4 years ago, I recall reading something that said along the lines of, when we are constantly saying yes to money opportunities and we are living our lives basically by the dollar, then we in essence are prostituting ourselves. We will do anything by any means, no matter how off it may feel, for that money. And I just wanted to put that out there because that really was eye-opening to me of, whoa, we really are slaves to money, and we really are how many of my yeses, I'm also a Taurus, so I naturally love money, and I love what money can bring into my life in a physical way, and also on a security level as well. And so that was really eye-opening to me because I never really stopped to think about that for a while of why am I saying yes to money opportunities that, number one, aren't really going to give me anything. They're just going to deplete me. They're not going to give me anything other than a few dollars, but it's not really going to give me the experience that I'm trying to desire. It's not really giving me the growth that I want. Why am I saying yes to this? So that was really kind of a really beautiful thing. And then the other thing that so I don't know if you guys have done this. This is one of my favorite practices ever. So I thought about this book on Friday, and it was at my desk, so I like grabbed it, and I just opened to a random page, and that's called bibliomancy. It's like allowing the book to speak for you. And this page that I came from was so awesome. So awesome, because it told a story about someone's no, and how no is a complete sentence. You don't need to offer anything else other than your no. And so this is the story. The photographer, Philip, let's try this again. The photographer, Philippe Halsman, was famous for asking his subjects to allow himself to photograph them in midair as they jumped. Richard Nixon, Oppenheimer, Grace Kelly, Duke and Duchess of Windsor, along with many other notables, all agreed to be photographed in this pose. One day, as Halsman was conducting a shoot of pianist Van Cliburn, he asked if the pianist would jump for him, and he refused. In Halsman's word, politely, I inquired what was his reasons for not wanting to jump. The artist put his arms behind his back, lifted his chin, and said, "There is no need for explanations." Halsman was so impressed by this matter-of-fact affirmation reply that he instantly took a photograph of Van Cliburn in this pose and included it predominantly in his book of photos of famous people jumping under the title Van Cliburn Won't Jump. Halsman understood that Van Cliburn was saying yes to his own unique preferences and his need for privacy, which is why Halsman was delighted rather than offended, even though the message was delivered without explanation. So I found that to be such a beautiful story. This pianist said no, gave no reasons, even when there was a follow-up of why what's your no. I want to read that exact line again. There's no need for explanations. Your no is a complete motherfucking sentence on itself. It needs no explanation. Yet we constantly give explanations of our no's. I will give you an example of something that happened yesterday. So yesterday, I was asked, I have a background in English. I was an English major. I love writing. I love writing. And I also love editing. And I was asked by someone if I could edit their writing work, and they would pay me. They asked, what's your rate? Where would you like to meet? They were giving me all of the rules, all of the parameters for this exchange of editing, and it kind of seemed like workshopping to me too, because quite frankly, in my opinion, an editor edits something but doesn't have to give an explanation, kind of like what this is going. So I said, I thought about it for a while. I thought about both sides. My initial gut instinct was, hell fucking no. Because this isn't this isn't someone that I want to work with. It's just pure and frank. This isn't someone I want to work with. I read some of his writing before, and I thought, okay, it didn't inspire me. It was a little bit redundant. There was a lot of editing that needed to be done, but it wasn't something that I wanted to pour my energy into. So I knew it was going to be a no, but I was like, let me at least try on the opposite for sides. Let me try and imagine what it would be like to work with him, to edit his work, to do this. And literally I was just like, ooh, because I wanted to lean into it. I wanted to lean into what would no feel like and what would yes feel like, because I feel like that's a really good practice to have. If you're not 100% sure. And I mean, I was on a gut instinct very sure, because my yes is to myself, and my yes is to pouring my energy into my own creative pursuits. I quite frankly do not have the capacity to help others with their own creative pursuits at this time, unless it's something that is gonna be collaborative, where it's something that we could do together, like having someone else on my YouTube channel, like something like that. Like that is a collaborative like endeavor that I'm interested in. But this is more like you're working for me. And quite frankly, I have my own business, so I can work for myself. So I knew, and that's also the thing, like I need my time, I need my energy, and I need my space so I can pour into my own creative pursuits, my own business, my own, community, so, that I'm able to serve them in the best way possible. I can't be taking on these other things. So, but I still wanted to try the yes out for size. So I like kind of went through that and was really thinking about, because I was like driving almost all yesterday. I went up to Haleakala. I went one back way, but I wasn't able to get up, so I went down, and then I had to go all the way around, which was totally fine because I haven't had really the time or space to just like be with my thoughts in a while. And I love driving for like that exact reason, is because it's just like kind of you and the road, and you just focusing on the road. Like I wasn't even listening to music or anything until the way back, and just because I really needed that time and space just to be with myself. And so as I was thinking about the yes, like it was like I couldn't even really lean into it. Like I couldn't really even lean into it because I was just like, this just feels all wrong. And it really reminded me of, oh my God, I've grown so much, because in the past, if there was a money opportunity presented to me, especially something that was in my skill set of editing, writing, English, I have a freaking bachelor's of English from one of the best colleges in the country, I'm a very proficient writer and editor. And I love the English language. I'm a wordsmith. I love the English language. But yet in every other sense, this was a no. This was a no for me, because it would take away from my own creative pursuits. It would take away from my own writing, because I wouldn't want to be writing if I'm editing someone else's work all the time. And so it was just very clearly a no for me. However, it was such a long first message that he sent me that I felt like I owed him, and this is my own, kind of guilt, shame that I was projecting. But I was like, I think I said something along the lines of like, thank you for thinking of me. However, I'm not able to at this time. I just don't have the time with my own creative pursuits. Good luck with your writing. So it was like short, sweet. I did give an explanation, but I also am like kind of beating myself up now, because I'm like, I didn't need to give an explanation. Like I could have just honored the no, but I also kind of wanted to do it in a nice way of like, it's not you, it's me, because quite frankly, that's the truth. Like, I guess the real truth is it's both. Like, he's not someone I want to work with, and I want the time and space to pour into my own creative pursuits, to be of service to my own community. So it was a no. It was a no all the way around. And this book just like really reminded me of like, I didn't need to give any other explanation than no. I did feel like I would hurt his ego if I did just say no and nothing else, because I had read some of his work, and I was like, when he had asked me before, he was like, will you do it? And then here, I'll give you some work to read so you can kind of get a sense of it. So it was like a maybe at that point. So I didn't really want him to think that it was a no because of his work, like, because his writing was fine, like, quite frankly, it's fine. It's not my cup of tea, but it's fine. It's, I'm sure it serves the people who are in his community. But it was kind of like, let me let it down lightly, because I don't want him to like kind of ego trip, for saying no. But that to me was also a really huge growth opportunity, because there are so many times that I would have been like, oh, money's being presented to me. Yes. And in that sense, that's what I was talking about before, is like how we kind of do prostitute ourselves for money. If I had said yes to that, I would be doing someone else's service, but it would be taking away from the service that I need to show up and do in the world. So I hope by me sharing that story, it at least, kind of anchors in that, like, I'm still continually setting and reinforcing boundaries. My boundaries are changing on a daily basis. And by reinforcing the boundaries that are still stuck, I feel like it just allows myself to, I think it's a very loving act. I feel like boundaries are a very loving act for us, because it shows up and it's like, this is how you can love me and this is how I can love you, and I'm not able to give or, receive kind of greater than that. And like, how wonderful is that? Because in order to know that, you have to know yourself. You have to know your energy levels. You have to know, like, and even if something is a yes for you one day and then the next day it's a no, like, that is being in tune and in touch with yourself in this moment. It's not projecting the past you, the past me that would have said anything to get money, 'cause I love money, but as a tool, but and it's not future me of like, I should do this to be of service because it might be a service that I offer in the future because I am such a great editor. I am such a great writer. And so, but it was truly honoring myself in this now moment, and myself in this now moment wants more time for myself and my creative pursuits. Once again, so I can show up and be of service and to offer the lessons that I have hard fought and won over these years, but also that I have to continually practice. Boundaries are a continual practice. You are going to be presented with opportunities every single day that allow you to reinforce your boundaries, to come into that knowing of your yes and your no. And this book also said, I think I saw it today, it was like, no is the most underused language and underused word in the English language, and it's one that needs to be used so much more than what it is. Imagine if we all just honored our no when we have that gut feeling of like no. And by saying no, we're also saying yes to ourselves. And like, when we do that, I know that our spirit is just like, yes. Oh, yes. You didn't fall down that trap again. You didn't fall down into that fear or guilt or shame or lack or, those mindsets. You are choosing yourself. You're choosing yourself. Like, how awesome. And that allows you to give from an overflowing cup. I feel like boundaries and self-care almost go hand in hand, because if our self-care is that practice that gets us to that overflowing cup, but we also need to have boundaries on our time and our space and our energy, so we can say, hey, like, I'm depleted. I need the weekend to myself. I'm not going to be answering one email that is sent to me. Like, I'm not going to be answering one phone call. Like, this is my sacred spot. And the thing is, I don't even need to really, say it. It just is, it's my practice of it. I'm not responding. I'm not answering. So it is what it is. When I'm back to work on Monday, you betcha I'll be there, and I'll be there fully present, because I have given myself the time and the space and to recharge and replenish my own cup, so that I can then give from an overflowing cup. Because when we give from a sense of depletion or lack, we then just invite that same energy and that same frequency and that same vibration of lack back to us. So I hope that this was a good introduction into boundaries, what they are on the energetic, physical, emotional levels. I know that there's so many more levels to it, but I really just wanted this to be an introduction to boundaries. And, by giving and sharing these personal examples, and then also the examples in this book. And I highly recommend this book for anyone. Like, if you have a hard time saying no, this book is a gem, because it not only is defining, like, it's not only giving you the permission of like, no, we need to be saying no. Like, we need to be saying no a lot more than what we're saying now. And this helps you to do it in a positive way, because it's positive not only for yourself, but it's positive for the people who then receive you, because it's like, hey, I've got this. I've defined myself. I know what I need, and I know what I need in this moment. This moment is not being defined by my past or my future. It's being defined by exactly what I'm able to give in this moment. And I think that's beautiful, bringing us back into the now moment, bringing us back in tune with ourselves and how we want to show up in the world. So I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful day. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions about boundaries. Also, if you just have any feedback about this video, I would also love if you guys could suggest some future topics. It can be literally anything. It can be absolutely anything, but anything that I can do to serve you, I'd love to hear back. So feel free to drop a comment. I'd also love if you could subscribe so then you can get notifications on when I put out a new video. I do them kind of whenever I'm inspired. I said in my first video that I wanted to be kind of regimented, but right now I've just been really inspired to show up and talk about boundaries, and I think that that's just how I'm going to let it flow for a little while. Of whenever I'm inspired to come and speak about a topic, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show up. So I hope that this was a timely reminder for you as well, or an invitation to start having boundaries if you haven't established them for yourself before, because it truly is a continual practice. It's not something you can set and forget. It's something that you are continually having to redefine in every now moment that you show up in, with every invitation that comes your way. So I'm sending so much love to you wherever you are on the earth plane. Thank you so much for tuning in. Loving you so much. Aloha.